Hey, it's Mark Wisdom again, the beer guy, and we're at our next stop on the JaxAleTrail. You know, so often the story of how a brewery started is two friends were sitting around drinking a beer. And that's exactly how it happened here at our next stop. Two guys, great friends, one a brewer, one a businessman, got together and said, let's make some really great beer. And that is exactly the story here at Aardwolf Brewing Company in San Marco. Let's go have some beer.
Hey, how are you, Mark?
Hey, how you doing,
Doing
Corey?
well.
This is Corey Lapel, one of the bartenders here at Aardwolf Tap Room. Tell us a little about this. Is one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen for a tap room. Tell us a little bit about it.
We're located over here in just south of San Marco. We're just south of the St. Johns River. We're in a 1930s tap room. The building itself was used up until late 1940 for manufacturing actual ice-load produce cars and a railway system. So we like to use it for making beer. The room itself takes you out into the city and kind of transforms you into a larger, much better city.
That's fascinating. I mean, this is, like you say, it's one of the most beautiful tap rooms in the city. The exposed brick, the industrial look of it is just gorgeous. How long did it take to get this place ready for being a tap room?
It was in the works for about 5 years, give or take. There was a lot of push and pull with the city as far as rezoning, getting all the plumbing worked out, but generally just making the building out the decor of what it is. Even the door you walked in through was originally a loading dock for all of the ice house in the 30s, so we had to take a lot of that out, redo the whole floor, and then locating all the brewing equipment as well.
Wow, that's great. What do you say we get a beer and we'll go check out the back?
Let's grab a beer.
All right. All right, so here we are in the brewery. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here. What's going on in the brewery today? I see these guys working with barrels and everything.
So
see
just here
Michael
behind
and Craven
us,
over here.
these are our two owners and actual owner and operators. This is Michael and Craven. We're actually barrel aging a little bit of beer today. So what we're working on here is our White Russian Stout. We're actually pulling it from the kegs and putting it in the barrels. This is kind of the reverse process. Michael was just on vacation, so we're kind of playing catch up on work. So he's getting ready to load some of our White Russian Imperial Stout into some apple brandy barrels.
That sounds delicious. Now, I also understand that earlier this year at the Great American Beer Festival in Denver, you guys won a medal at that.
Yes,
Tell
we did.
us about that.
We sent a few of our beers out. We were lucky enough to come back with a bronze medal for the Great American Beer Fest Belgian Pale and Blonde series, which is a really, really tough competitive series because we are nowhere near Belgium. And for us to be competing in a category of that style, it's awesome. And to bring home medals for Jacksonville.
And there were a lot of entries in that.
I believe there were 17 entries in that category.
And that's a relatively large field in that particular style of beer.
Yes.
So, I mean, you guys did awesome with this. And you've been around for what, 2 years now?
We've been in the business for about 2 years.
Yeah.
We sent beers out last year, but we didn't think anything of it. So to actually come home in year 2 with something was awesome.
Exactly. I mean, it just doesn't happen that often. So, as you are ramping up and moving forward into the beer industry here in Jacksonville, Florida, what is it that you are looking to do in the near future?
Next up, we're going to be looking into more souring beers. We actually have a foeder on the way from Italy right now. It just got to the port in Italy. It's basically a 1,000-gallon brandy foeder, or a 1,000-gallon brandy barrel. So that method just basically can create consistency across beers.
So talk some more about sour beers. A lot of people don't understand what sour beers
souring or bugs in beer, active fermentation or infection of beers. We like to pitch different ingredients as far as lactobacillus or Brettanomyces in the beer. And it literally, those are different types of strains of yeast, wild strains of yeast with that. And what we activate out of that is it brings out different dryness, tartness, and characteristics of beer that most people wouldn't want. But we actually like to further that process and look for it.
In the past, you've had several sour styles. You have one on right now.
Yes. We have quite a few on
San
today.
Marco Sour, you've had...
we have the San Marco Sour Blonde. We have Sarah Lovely is our Raspberry Dark Sour. We do a Goza, which is more of a traditional with beer, and then we also have our Hipster Popsicle, which is conditioned Goza with cherries and lime juice.
And Gozas are more of a German style,
yes.
And sours are generally Belgian style.
Yes.
So we're kind of just experimenting with different flavors and everything here, making things switching things up here in Jacksonville.
It almost brings it regional touches. People even like to say a Berliner Weiss can't be brewed out of Berlin, but so we like to call them Florida Weisses.
Mm-hmm.
You can even play around with different aspects of that, of different syrups that are added into it. So for a traditional Berliner, you would add a Creek syrup. Florida, we can make different syrups out of loquats or even other regional berries.
That's an excellent point there, because Berliner Weiss is generally with a green syrup,
Yes.
or with a red syrup.
Yes.
And one's a berry and one's pine.
Yes.
So here in Florida, we've got so many different things you can work with.
You can do spruce pine if you want to bring out the traditional green syrups. If you want to play around with fruit, we have loquats that are indigenous to this area, which is a blend between a plum and a sauerkraut. So it's just very tart, dry, and after fermentation.
Right.
Gives you nice, dry, wild flavors.
Some great flavors going here. Is the plan to experiment further into this kind of beer?
Always. We like to broaden the market. Jacksonville really hasn't scratched the surface on sours yet. They're still on board with IPAs, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's just every year we're kind of the last to find out everything. So now it's good to see a different little flavors coming out. Because you can even compare sours to wine. Each beer is different. Each active ingredient changes every beer across the plateau. So we just want to see what it can further and bring it on this region, bring it to a destination finally, instead of people leaving Jacksonville to go for something. We want to bring them back here.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of the JaxAleTrail, is to bring the attention here to Jacksonville for the brewers that we have here in Jacksonville, and for the experimentation that's going on here in Jacksonville. Some really great flavors going on, some really great brewers here in this town, really starting to expand the way people think about beer here in Florida.
Yeah. That's what we look forward to. I learned directly from our brewmaster, Michael Payne. I come from a culinary background. I love to play with food. If you don't know good food, you can't judge good food.
Absolutely.
So if you're scared to eat or drink something, then you can't. There's no way to say anything about it.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, Corey, I want to thank you so much
thank you, Mark,
for showing us around and letting us shoot in here. And this has been wonderful and very educational.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Not a problem. Thanks again.
All right. One of the best ways to enjoy beer is to see if they have a taste profile. Usually it's 4 beers, about 4 ounces each, and you can get a feel for the brewery by just tasting the different beers without having to take the step of drinking an entire pint of their beer. So the Belgian Pale Ale is a pale ale made with some Belgian yeast, meaning that it's got a little bit of funkiness. Most pale ales are mostly hop forward. This one has hops, but it is a little bit on the funky side because of that Belgian yeast. Yeah, so I'm getting sort of that barnyard funkiness that a lot of people, it's a bit of an acquired taste. So some folks will go, I'm not sure that's right for me, but this is truly a really great beer, as evidenced by the fact that it won a medal at the Great American Beer Festival. Now, let's talk about this sour right here. A sour beer is a beer that is used, it usually has wild yeast or Brettanomyces, which is a yeast that sours beer. It's often not something that people want, but in this case, it's something that they cultivated. They really wanted it to happen this way. So let's take a taste of this. It's very nice. You've got a fruity flavor to it, and you've got a sourness that hits you like sort of like a red wine will hit you on the sides of your tongue. So you've got that sourness to it. It's a little bit tart. It's not over the top. Some sours can really lay on tartness. This particular one is very well balanced, very nice, and easy to drink. Let's talk about this here. It's a Simcoe wheat. Now, a wheat beer is a beer that uses wheat as well as barley when it's being made. So this one is using Simcoe hops. That's where the name comes from, Simcoe. Simcoe hops tend to be very fruity, very floral, and yet still quite bitter. Let's take a drink of that. Again, it's a great beer. It's got tropical notes coming from the hops. It's got the smoothness of a wheat beer, and it's got just a touch of tartness down at the very bottom. You might not taste if you didn't know what you were looking at. Finally, let's take a taste of this stout. Now, a stout is, a lot of people think, is a high not necessarily high alcohol. This particular one is an imperial stout, so it is high alcohol. A lot of stouts are actually relatively low in alcohol as compared to other types of beer. A stout is generally made with a very darkly roasted malt, and that's just the case here. This particular stout is also flavored with vanilla and a few other things to give it a little bit of oomph, a little bit of extra flavor to it.
And I feel like she knows
So vanilla is very prevalent, as well as some coffee notes, which is very common in a stout type. Again, I can't stress that the best way to taste beers at a new brewery is to go along with purchasing a taster. Generally, they'll give you the opportunity to choose whichever beers you'd like to try. If you're not sure what you would like to try, talk to the bartender and ask them to give you some of the best beers that particular brewery has to offer. In this case, I think we've probably got the best beers that Aardwolf has to offer right now. So that's it for us here at Aardwolf Brewing Company. Be sure to check out our next visit on the JaxAleTrail. Until next time, see you later.